Singing in tongues is a spiritual practice that has many benefits. Most of the benefits of singing in tongues go unnoticed because not many people sing in tongues. But for those who practice singing in tongues, there are great benefits that make them never want to quit. God has endowed singing in tongues with great benefits because it is an act that greatly pleases Him. In this video, I will look at some of the common benefits of singing in tongues and why every believer should consider doing it. Singing in tongues is pleasing to God. The worship that the Spirit of God enables us to offer is always pure. As a result, God is drawn to us. Remember that God created many things and they all offer worship to Him. Angels worship Him, trees worship Him, oceans worship Him, birds worship Him, and many other created things. In all of creation, God prefers the worship of man more than any other created thing. While all creation was made perfect, God made man in His image and likeness unlike other created things. As a result, God is keen on getting the worship of man than of any other created thing. The fact that man sinned against God also makes our worship so precious to God. Remember the parable of the prodigal son. The prodigal son received greater love after returning than the son who never strayed. Because of our natural inclination to sin, it is hard for us to offer worship that is pure and pleasing to God. God knew our struggle and sent us the Holy Spirit to guide us and help us in our weaknesses. While the Spirit of God primarily helps us in prayer through speaking in tongues, He also helps us in worshiping God through singing in tongues. For many believers, singing in tongues is an unknown phenomenon. But to those who know it, it is a powerful way to offer pure worship to God and reap great benefits. When you sing in tongues, you tap into the depths of the heart of God. The Spirit of God knows the deep thoughts of God, and that enables Him to show us how to worship God as He really wants. As a result, the Lord draws close to us to receive our sweet worship. And of course, there are endless pleasures in the presence of God. The Bible asks us not to quench the Holy Spirit. The Spirit of God is gentle, and for us to have a fruitful relationship with Him, we need to give Him space in our lives. All believers have the Spirit of God. It is impossible to believe in Jesus without the Holy Spirit. But not all believers have given the Spirit of God full access in their lives. How many times has the Spirit of God prompted us to do certain things and we ignored? To strengthen our relationship with the Holy Spirit, we have to allow Him to work freely in us. The more open we are to Him, the greater the work He does in us. Singing in tongues is one of the ways in which we allow the Spirit of God to work in us. Singing in tongues requires a great degree of surrender to the Holy Spirit. The more we sing in tongues, the deeper our relationship with the Holy Spirit becomes. And a deep relationship with the Holy Spirit guarantees a deep relationship with God. As a result, we get to enjoy our walk with God. Singing in tongues cultivates great love in our hearts for God, and the love flows to our earthly relationships as well. If you can maintain a strong relationship with the Holy Spirit, you are guaranteed to have a strong relationship with others. Jesus commanded us to love one another, and that is only possible if we first love Him. Singing in tongues is an act of intimacy that cultivates love for God in our hearts and also for others. Singing in tongues will cause your relationship with God and others to be enjoyable and fruitful. Every time we allow the Spirit of God to use us, He leaves us better than He found us. When you sing in tongues, the Spirit of God purifies your tongue before using it to offer worship to God. Before the Spirit of God leads you to lift up your hands to God, He purifies them. The purification is both spiritual and physical. If you have any illness in your body and you allow the Holy Spirit to use your body, He will first heal you before using you. Singing in tongues requires us to offer our tongues to the Holy Spirit. As a result, the Holy Spirit purifies our tongues and trains them to do God's bidding. The Bible tells us that the power of life and death lie in the tongue. When the Holy Spirit has control over our tongue as a result of singing in tongues, He teaches us how to use our tongues to speak life. Not only will the words from our tongues be pleasing to God, but our tongues will also speak life in our bodies. A believer who sings in tongues has more control over his tongue than one who does not. Many of the benefits of singing in tongues are hard to explain. Believers who sing in tongues will often realize the benefits of singing in tongues long after they have manifested in their lives. It is the usual trend with benefits that come from relating with God. Take the example of the young men on their way to Emmaus. When Jesus was speaking to them, their hearts were burning within them, but they didn't realize it until Jesus had left them. The same effect happens when Jesus saves you from sin. You realize long after you have stopped sinning that Jesus saved you from sin. Keep singing in tongues and count your blessings each day. There is an endless sea of blessings for those who sing in tongues and offer to God pure worship. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel for more speaking in tongues videos. See you in the next one.